In case you've been living under a rock crab, Andrew Gower, the creator of RuneScape, is making a brand new game called Brighter Shores. RuneScape is a game that defined my childhood alongside many others, and is my favorite game of all time. While other kids were doing classwork, I was busy writing out pages upon pages of goals for my many accounts in my journal. I even dated the lunch lady's daughter so I could gain access to her private office during lunch hours to play RuneScape. Yeah. Even though most of the lunch period was spent staring at the monitor praying for the fire on the login screen to work correctly. Needless to say, I was obsessed. When I first heard about Brighter Shores, I was instantly intrigued. Could Andrew Gower strike gold once again and recapture the magic of RuneScape? In this video, we will be discussing what makes RuneScape so special and exploring how Brighter Shores could easily become your next addiction. To answer the question of why RuneScape is so special, we need to take a trip down memory lane back to 2001 where it all began. Shaggy's reggae-infused music could be heard playing on just about every radio. And Lord of the Rings was dominating the box office. It was a great time to be alive. On January 4th, 2001, Andrew Gower released RuneScape, now known as RuneScape Classic, a successor to their previous game Devious Mud or Multi-User Dungeon. I still remember my very first RuneScape login. It was DDragonSlayer11, and my password was RebeccaLover9, dedicated to a girl I dated for all of one day. Those are some good times indeed. RuneScape ran inside of a web browser using a Java-based platform, which leads me to my first reason why the game is so special: accessibility. Accessibility to this game was a huge selling point. Running inside of a web browser unlocked the potential to play this game pretty much anywhere that had access to a computer. School? Check. Church? Check. That one uncle's house who was probably a little too hands-on? Check. Hell, even within public libraries, you could find a few people playing the game. It was everywhere. Now, Brighter Shores obviously isn't going to be running on a web browser, but that doesn't mean accessibility won't play a key role in making this game stand out. If it's able to run well on the Steam Deck and eventually receive a mobile and potentially a console release, that would open the door for a lot of players to be able to access the game, which is key for an MMO's success. Now, accessibility wasn't the only reason RuneScape was and is so special. Far from it, actually. Another standout feature that even holds true still to this day is the game's unique take on questing. By the time the game had upgraded its engine and evolved into RuneScape 2 in 2004, the quests were so much more than your standard fetch quest. Forget going to kill 10 boar and bringing Farmer Fred some meat. If he wants some meat, I'll give him some meat. But no, these quests had you going on epic adventures. Let's take Dragon Slayer for example, an iconic quest that sent you on your first real epic journey to slay the notorious green dragon named Elvarg. This quest is filled with memorable moments, such as receiving your first shield that protects you against dragonfire, navigating a mad wizard's maze to find pieces of the map to chart the dragon's location, and gaining access to your very own ship that would become shipwrecked when you're attacked in the skies by Elvarg. It is crazy. Eventually, once you defeated the dragon, you received a substantial reward and the ability to equip the illustrious and highly sought-after Runeplate body, the best-in-slot chess piece at the time of its release. That is just one of the many incredibly rich and well-designed quests found within the game. RuneScape is a game where you cannot judge a book by its cover. Who would have thought a web browser Java game could be capable of sending you on such grand adventures? And let's not forget to mention the witty British humor often found in most of these quests. Your character is an absolute idiot, often falling for obvious schemes and still manages to save the day every time in an endearing fashion. Featuring enough cheesy puns and dry humor to fill a room, it's refreshing to see a game that doesn't take itself so seriously, but at the same time still manages to come across as an epic adventure. Now, Brighter Shores on the other hand will release in an episodic format, with each episode containing its very own questlines, professions, and areas to unlock. This approach is an interesting take for an MMO, but if done correctly, could separate itself from other MMOs on the market. With well-written and designed quests, Brighter Shores could easily recapture some of that RuneScape magic. Plus, we can pretty much count on some of that wonderful British humor being sprinkled into the game as well. Next up on our list is the hybrid gameplay found within the game. The way RuneScape perfectly balances between being an AFK idle game and an active game with a surprisingly high skill ceiling is nothing short of miraculous. There are numerous activities within the game that require very little input, making the game a perfect complement to being productive elsewhere. There have been many times during the process of creating a video, I'll be AFKing something on the other monitor. And better yet, if you want something that demands your full attention, there are also a ton of activities that you can do. Activities such as bossing, raiding, and active training provide ample ways to test your skills and often reward you with better experience rates and loot than the more AFK methods will. And if you think RuneScape is a walk in the park and is easy and there's no skill involved, I challenge you to go beat the Inferno. Yeah, let me know how that goes. The game also doesn't force you into one playstyle versus the other. It's a true sandbox and you can play the game however you like. Would you prefer to avoid combat altogether and focus solely on the game's many non-combat life skills? You can do that without punishment. There are entire accounts dedicated to this very thing. Brighter Shores appears to follow that same game design philosophy, which is awesome to see. Even taking it one step further by implementing passive training for some of its skills. This will result in much lower experience rates than traditional methods, but it's still neat to see this even as an option. Hopefully this will be balanced in a manner that it doesn't negatively impact the game or the economy. Andrew Gower has gone on record stating it doesn't take as long to max a skill as it does in RuneScape, so I expect Brighter Shores to respect your time a little bit more. If you're looking for a game that can be played both passively and actively, allowing you to truly play the game however you want to, then the gameplay of Brighter Shores should be right up your alley. Now let's talk about the multifaceted progression found within RuneScape and how Brighter Shores could recapture that same sense of accomplishment. Currently in old school RuneScape, there are 23 different skills you can level all on the same character. There are no classes to choose from, and you could spend theoretically years on the same character and not max all of your skills. I've personally never been maxed and have played this game on and off since its inception. I'm also a manic ADHD person and I have serious commitment issues. Yeah, help. Once upon a time, your non-combat skills had a ton of weight behind them as they allowed you to craft the best gear in the game. As RuneScape evolved, more of the best gear you could find within the game comes from bossing, raiding, and other high-end activities. That doesn't mean these non-combat skills aren't important anymore, quite the contrary actually, as these are often requirements to complete some of the best and most rewarding quests found within the game. So to progress effectively, you need to make sure you're leveling each of your skills as they will all serve their own individual purposes at some point. Each of these skills have a ton of unlocks along the way, making the leveling process quite exciting as you'll often gain access to new ways to train your skills and unlock different rewards. And hitting the max level of 99 in a skill on RuneScape is one of the most rewarding experiences in all of gaming. It is truly unparalleled. And it didn't matter that you lost lifelong relationships along the way. You kicked your wife to the curb. You sacrificed your unborn baby. You got 99 Slayer, goddammit, and it was worth it. And RuneScape progression is literally everything. You'll find yourself setting goals for your skills, your bank value, questing, achievements, the list goes on and on. In Brighter Shores, there are classes, 3 to be exact. You can play as either a Cryo Knight, Guardian, or Hammer Mage, depending on your preferred playstyle. If you want to see a dedicated video covering each class after launch, drop a comment down below and let me know. I'll do my best to make that happen. I'm curious to see how much impact the different classes bring to the game. This is a huge change in direction from RuneScape, so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Will you be incentivized to create alts, or will everything be obtainable on one character? We'll find out soon enough. There will be 15 skills at launch to master in Brighter Shores. I want to see these skills have the same significance that RuneScape has with its skills, especially when the game launched. Being able to craft the best gear or equivalent gear is super important for meaningful progression, and I'd love to see these utilized as requirements for quests as well. Not to mention, when you hit max level in a skill just like in RuneScape, you'll gain access to a badass cape to show everybody how much of a nerd you are. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go flex my untrimmed hit points cape. All jokes aside, I'm optimistic Brighter Shores will have that same exquisite sense of progression at its core. Now the last reason RuneScape is so special is its unique take on PvP, or better known as PKing within the community. Hear me out. I know PvP isn't for everyone, and that's perfectly fine as it's entirely optional, but I'm still of the opinion that in its heyday, RuneScape had the very best PvP you could find in any MMO, and I've played almost all of them. How can a game that appears to be so rudimentary and simple at first glance have PvP that was once considered best in genre by many of its players? Well, let me explain. First, RuneScape has a large section of the map called the Wilderness, where the majority of its player killing takes place. Level advantage has always been something that is hard to balance in MMOs, but RuneScape has an ingenious way of dealing with that. When you first step foot into the Wilderness, you'll be in what is considered level 1 Wilderness, meaning you can only attack and be attacked by players within 1 level of yours. So if you're level 30, you can attack and be attacked by level 29s, 30s, and 31s. However, as you go deeper into the Wilderness, which is where a lot of its valuable bosses, resources, and the like are located, that level begins to go up. And at its deepest point, you'll be in level 56 Wilderness. There is an entire meta dedicated to staying within the first few levels of the Wilderness outside of a town called Edgeville, and you can find a ton of other players in that area, while the deeper parts of the Wilderness were also populated with clans and people who were either farming resources or hunting farmers. Or if it was back in the day, you would just be exploring the Wilderness because it was so mysterious and dangerous. Like, you had to go in there and check it out for yourself. And then the next thing you know, you're getting killed by your best friend for your full set of room, and you wind up in Lumbridge and you ask yourself, why? Sorry about that, just having some flashbacks there. Which brings me to my next point, which is there is also full loot PvP in RuneScape with a few caveats. By default, you protect your 3 most valuable items, and there is a prayer ability in the game that allows you to protect an additional item up to 4 total. That is, if you don't attack someone. The second you attack someone, you become scolded and lose all of your items on death, except for your most valuable item if you're using the aforementioned item protection prayer. Guess what though? There are ways to drain a player's prayer entirely, meaning if you kill them after doing so, you get all of their items, with a few untradeable exceptions, but you get the idea. That high risk versus high reward gameplay was so addictive, and I would come home from school and spend hours and hours PKing.
He is fucked.
I even made videos dating back to 2005 of me PKing. Maybe one day I'll share those with you guys. Brighter Shores will not have PvP at launch, but it's launching in early access specifically because they want the full release of the game to be marked by the addition of PvP, and they understand its importance. This is music to my ears, and Andrew Gower seems fully aware that getting PvP right and taking extra time to refine it carefully is vital. As the years have went on, PKing in RuneScape has gone downhill due to a numerous amount of reasons, which I may cover one day in another video, and I hope that Brighter Shores can recapture that same high risk versus reward adrenaline rush that RuneScape was once known for. There you have it. Those are my reasons why RuneScape is so special, and how Brighter Shores can borrow some of those elements and even expand upon them to create a truly incredible experience. But here's the thing, Brighter Shores doesn't have to recapture the magic of RuneScape. It can pave its own path and redefine the genre in new and exciting ways that RuneScape once did all of those many years ago. And the best news is we don't have to wait long to get our hands on the game, as by the time this video is released, Brighter Shores will be available to download on Steam. So if you're looking for a lesser known MMO created by a legend in the industry, I highly recommend giving it a chance. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Brighter Shores content, drop a like on the video and consider subscribing. This is my most anticipated game in a very long time, so you know I'll be playing it as much as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Wealth Gaming.